By quickly, when you live here, I heard a lady talking to Mr. Kohler after the parade, and she said, I came to the village the day I was born. What an interesting way to present it. And she said, I in one way I don't want to remember how many years I'm here, but it's been very, very nice. And I was talking to another gentleman this morning, and for residents, you understand what it is. For guests, we love to have you here, but you need to spend some time here, living here, getting to know what this really means. So for everybody that supported us and supports our village and has supported our village for 100 years, certainly from all over, whether it be village residents, Kohler Company, family, Kohler family, Kohler Company, all of the things that go on here, we are grateful. So I'd like to mention some of the dignitaries here today. Tom Petrie's here, our congressman. State Senator Joe Lightfam is here. I'm going to see if we can drag some of these guys out of the shade. I know Mike Ensley's here, Steve Cassell is here, Ellen Schleicher's here, and I saw quite a few other of our elected officials that make our county and our state and our national government work, so we want to welcome them. The governor could not be with us today, but today has been proclaimed in the state of Wisconsin the Village of Kohler Day, and I'll read the proclamation. Whereas the Village of Kohler in Sheboygan County is celebrating its 100th anniversary in 2012, and the Village of Kohler was incorporated in 1912, 12 years after John Michael Kohler moved his foundry from Sheboygan to his present site. And whereas the dream of developing Kohler Village as a garden/industrial community was conceived by John Michael Kohler's son, Walter J. Kohler, who had toured the leading garden city projects in the United States and Europe and incorporated many of their progressive concepts in the Village of Kohler plan. And working with Frederick Law Olmsted, Walter Kohler developed one of the nation's first and finest planned communities. Whereas the Village of Kohler is a community of friendly people, charming homes, and a diverse and recreational amenities with a population of 2,011. And whereas the Village of Kohler is holding a centennial on the weekend of August 3rd and 4th, 2012, and the events include a concert, fireworks, parade, and community picnic, the Village of Kohler is also publishing a book, Kohler Village Remembers, featuring photos and stories from the past and present residents. Now, therefore, I, Scott Walker, Governor of the state of Wisconsin, do hereby proclaim the weekend of August 3rd and 4th, 2012 as the Village of Kohler Days throughout the state of Wisconsin, and I commend this observance to all citizens. Scott Walker, Governor. I'm going to make the introduction here in a minute, and it's kind of certainly not a waste of time, but everybody knows who's coming up the steps. We're really appreciative of Mr. Kohler joining us today and being involved in the ceremonies and the program. He was the Grand Marshal of our parade that we just completed, and if you saw the carriage and that Mr. Kohler and Natalie rode down in, and the beautiful horses and the way it was all done was just Kohler. It was just class. It was great. Mr. Kohler's obviously a native of the village and pretty well known in the area, and certainly known across the nation and across the world as a strong leader and a strong organizer, and certainly knows how to make the industrial plant, the factory run, and also knows how to put the golf courses together and the tournaments played, and obviously knows how to drive the horses. So without further ado, Mr. Kohler.
That's quite an introduction, Thomas. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, I'm glad you're in the shade. My remarks are short. I'll keep it sweet. But I they're very meaningful to me, and I hope to you. I'd like to start by telling you a story of Lost Woods Park, where we are today. Now, mind you, this is the clearing of Lost Woods Park. Up there is the real Lost Woods. Long before it was a park, it was named Lost Woods by a few, I should say, rebellious village kids named Bobby Jones, Stevie Zeitler, Billy Deswinkowski, and me, Herbie Kohler. We named it this because we believed that no one could ever find us there. Deep inside that woods was a bramble patch. And inside this bramble patch, we dug a hole about 4 feet deep and 7 feet wide. We covered that hole with a very intricate pattern of sticks, like an igloo, making it impossible, so we thought, for anyone to find us inside our hideout. This became our headquarters during all 4 seasons of the year, and we used it primarily to smoke and retell our adventures. One afternoon, we were smoking up a storm when suddenly the sticks of the doorway were thrown back, and there was my mother, appalled at what she saw. I don't know who was more surprised, mother or kids, but she hollered at all of us, then dragged me away, holding me by the ear all the way home. I never did return to these woods as a kid, so being here today brings back a whole lot of memories. There's a saying that the apple never falls too far from the tree. When my son David was a junior in junior kindergarten, a wicked witch visited his classroom on Halloween. The next year on Halloween, David was determined to avoid that scary witch, so he skipped school and hid out in Ravine Park with his buddy Mitchell McGinnis. They had so much fun playing hooky in the park that day that they skipped school for the next 2 weeks just to play in the park. Finally, their teacher, mind you, David's mother and his father were totally unaware of what was going on because he'd come home always at the proper time. Finally, their teacher, thinking these 2 boys must be quite ill to miss 2 weeks of school, called our house to inquire about David's health. It didn't take long to discover that another Kohler kid, just like his father before him, had found a good hiding place in one of the village parks. Our parks are spread throughout the village. More than just good hiding places, they are community playgrounds for the young and social centers for the rest of us. How these parks came to be, how the village of Riverside evolved into Kohler Village that we know today is really a quite fascinating history lesson. When John Michael moved his factory from Sheboygan to Riverside in 1899, he did so because he was looking for a center in which his factory could grow without congestion and his workers could live in a clean, natural environment. He envisioned a community of attractive worker-owned homes on winding tree-lined streets with defined areas for homes and retail stores, with his manufacturing plant to the east so that the prevailing westerlies could blow emissions and noise away from residential areas. Unfortunately, he died before the dream was finished. Riverside began to grow haphazardly, like so many other communities in America, where manufacturing plants were prospering and workers were looking for homes just outside their factories' gates. John Michael's third son and ultimate successor, Walter Kohler, was troubled by the unorganized growth of Riverside and set out to create a long-range plan for the village. He and Richard Phillip, an architect friend from Milwaukee, traveled to Europe and met with this crazy character by the name of Sir Ebenezer Howard, but he was the architect of the English Garden City movement. They toured villages in northern England and Netherlands, looking for attributes that would generate higher standards of living at moderate costs, values and principles that would constitute good living. Returning to the United States, they sat down with the Olmsted brothers of Boston to create the first master plan for the newly incorporated village of Kohler. Central to the plan was that homes would be privately held, architect-inspired, and complementary to their surroundings. That a building and loan would be owned by those who used to finance their homes. That the village would not be a company town. The result of Walter's amazing foresight and the Olmsted's planning is what distinguishes Kohler Village from other communities of today. They recognize the power of placing people in compelling surroundings in which to work, to play, to live, and to grow. They realized that parks were the lungs of a community, and in so doing, they created an American original. Some 60 years later, Frank Lloyd Wright Foundation and John Littlesand helped us create what was called the second 50-year master plan. Many people have walked in their footsteps these past 100 years. My father taught me the importance of roots, to respect the history and values and traditions of the village. He also taught me that growth is essential to longevity. I hope these ideas are adopted by my grandchildren and they're able to instill them in their children and in turn their children. It has taken great leaders at the company, in village government, in Kohler Public Schools, working together to bring our community to this centennial year. It has taken boldness and respect for each other from all three to avoid stagnation and to foster the growth and vitality that the village has today. Though tiny in relative size, the village enjoys a character and reputation unequaled by any other Wisconsin community, really by any American community. Some of the world's finest products continue to be made here in machine shops, a pottery, and foundries with plating and enameling. Yet hardly 2 blocks away resides a 5-star, 5-diamond hotel, one of only 36 in the world. And another block away resides a series of public schools that consistently graduate accomplished men and women charitably focused. And all of this surrounded by community, by recreation, by green space. Recently, a renowned portrait artist and a man who was able to preserve 40,000 acres of Pennsylvania landscape toured our village. His first impression was, what a beautiful, charming, clean community this is. It's obvious, he noted, that people who live here really care about what makes their village unique. It's always comforting to come home to this safe place we love, to a place that holds special memories of lifelong friendships, many of which began in kindergarten at the Kohler schools. Today we share memories of state championships, summer playground games, sledding down Devil's Run in Ravine Park, memories of eating homemade pie at ice cream socials and soaking up ice cream sodas at the corner drugstore, memories of winning a prize at the Dull Buggy Parade, dancing at the youth center, getting your first job paying job, that is, cutting your neighbor's grass, or pulling mustard on the Kohler farms, buying your first home in the village. This is our centennial, memories of what we were about and the values and friendships that sprung from them. To commemorate this momentous occasion, it's my pleasure to present a special gift from Kohler Company to the village. I'd like Tom Schnettler, our village president, and members of our board, if I could dig you out from the tents, to join me for this presentation. Tom, where are they all? Come on, you guys. Members of the village board, please come up. Okay, we're getting ready. Oh, here we go. Our gift will be a large etched brass map defining Kohler Village as it exists today on its 100th birthday. It will be placed in the wall at the entrance to the village hall. The etching of the map will be executed by an architectural metal fabricator who participated in the arts industry program in the Kohler factory. The map is still in production, but here is what it'll look like. Ta-da, 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 ta-da. All right. Come up and take a closer look a little later on. It's going to be a beautiful piece. Thank you, guys. The growth of Kohler Village over the past 100 years will be easy to trace on this map. The original 1902 plat for the small village of Riverside extended along what is now Highland Drive from today's design center south to the railroad tracks. The Olmsted brothers started with that plat and laid out the streets, parks, and residential lots in West 1, West 2, and South 1. The second 50-year master plan breathed new life into the village by defining areas for expanded residential, commercial, and recreational development. I hope that 50 or even 100 years from now, village residents and visitors will look at this plaque and note how, through careful planning and a single, far-reaching sense of quality, the village has grown and prospered over the years. John Ruskin, an English art critic and sociologist in the late 1800s, had quite an influence on the company when he wrote, "Life without labor is guilt. Labor without art is brutality." He also had quite an influence on community planning and provides us with a thought appropriate to this centennial. "When we build," he wrote, "let us think that we build forever. Let it not be for present delight nor for present use alone. Let it be such work as our descendants will thank us for. And let us think, as we lay stone upon stone, that a time is to come when those stones will be held sacred because our hands have touched them. And men will say as they look upon the labor and wrought substance of them, see, this our fathers did for us." Happy birthday, Village of Kohler. You are an American original. Let us celebrate in one of the lungs of your community. God bless.